Hello everyone, welcome to the 13th live. I try to use the character. Today is the Jiawood Shu Earth, the dog day, and it's the same hourly pillar, Jiawood Shu Earth, dog hour. Last week we talked about how to overcome unfavorable elements, right? Can you guys hear my voice well? Okay, let's start with some deep questions from Alex. What is the question? Oh, Christian, you are from Uruguay. I forgot about that. Can you use an example of how geography or continents or people, places, or things are related to the five elements? I agree with that you said about talk about the deep questions. That's really deep. It's easy to just determine each continent or geography as five elements, but it's really hard to really apply that. There are many ways to actually determine geographical stuff. For example, I'll bring some map. Yeah, I will do that, Christian. I saw your question. Maybe I have to prepare this topic for later, for more detailed example. We can look at those aspects in a relative way, or yeah, I will prepare this one later. But for just simple example, the directional energy is exactly same as the five element. So basically we consider the north as the water, south as fire, the west as metal, and the east as the wood. But if we consider the center as a fire, because there's an equator in the middle, right? There's an equator, and those could be water again here. And we can consider maybe in the opposite way, like wood and metal is like this. And in the southern hemisphere, wood metal could be opposite. I'm not sure about that, actually. This is not I really have focused on. But basically, the west side is considered as a metal. And then it is kind of not very clear because this study has started in Asia, right? So we consider the Asia as a center, especially Chinese territory. We call it as a Earth. The name of China is exactly the country in the middle is the Earth country. If we consider that as a just in the Asia, the China could be Earth. But if we just think whole aspect, the European country could be Earth. But from Asian country, Europe is also West. So they are considered as a metal as well. If China is Earth, maybe Korea and Japan could be the wood aspect. And the India or the Vietnam or Thailand, those countries could be the fire. And Russia could be water. But if I only bring, it is all relative matter. If I bring just Asian map, it makes sense. Metal, water, earth, wood. We can consider those like this. So like Indonesia and Vietnam, those area could be in a fire realm, almost India as well. It's a kind of mixture of earth and fire. And those Eastern European country could be metal aspect. Or in the perspective of Asian eyes, all the European country could be metal. But if we only bring the European country, those could be different. Same thing if we bring the European country map. It also applies like this. So the Sweden or Finland, those countries could be water in the perspective of European countries. And Ukraine, those area could be wood. And Earth is kind of not very clear. Maybe Poland or Switzerland could be. And Italy or Spain is considered as a like fire country in those kind of perspective. It's a good video series. Thank you. Is this why these countries have wars? There are clashes and combinations between the branches and heavenly stem, right? Sometimes wood tries to combine with water. Wood tries to make a clash with metal, something like that. Yeah, I look different. I just trying. This feature is the new one for the Zoom, so I just tried. So if we consider the water aspect as Russia, if we consider the wood aspect as a Ukraine, it is kind of interesting to look at. I'm not sure this way is right way or not, but in this year's energy, the energy direction is coming from water to wood. This is just assumption. Yeah, water to wood, which means Russia to Ukraine. That kind of desire can happen. This is also one way to just look at the world situation, but I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I will prepare more stuff later about this. This is a very deep realm, I think. to really look at the world. But it's all relative manner, like just which country you guys live in right now, and then depending on where you guys are located in, all the countries' elements could be different. This is applied in feng shui as well, like which area is better for me. It is all based on my location. My location to the west could be west for me, but those area could be east for somebody. Okay, but how do you see Uruguay according to this? Southern hemisphere is kind of challenging for me because I have to study more about those countries' character. If we consider this like Venezuela, Colombia, or Mexico, those area could be fire, and Brazil could be metal, or in a opposite way like that. We can do upside down. But anyway, Uruguay is quite water realm, and Argentina, I don't know. This is not correct. I'm not really confident with that. That's what we are here to challenge you. Why? That's right. Yeah, sometimes I like challenge. This could require a little more detailed reading about the chart. With this, I cannot really determine the skin problem. It should be all mixture of your 10-year luck cycle and yearly energy right now. But the problem is this year energy is Tiger 2022, and especially from February to July. From February to July, it is considered as a wood fire yang dominant time. And if the wood fire is dominant, metal could be really damaged. And skin is one of the metal organ, so it could be affected by those yang dominant energy. So you invert the map to set the elements in the southern hemisphere. That's what I consider, because the equator should be the most hot place. So I consider close to the equator is fire, and close to the South Pole or North Pole as water. But for some people, they consider South Pole as a fire, North Pole as a water. It is all different by the scholar. Very controversial. And I found one website that explains those areas very well, and I forgot the address right now. Yeah, and talking about the disease, usually too much element, we call it as a dominant energy, or let's say strongest. That could be one factor of the disease pattern, or the weakest element. Could be one disease pattern as well. Could be Yongshin, could be just lack. Christian, can you explain a little bit about the people in Uruguay, like in general, their characters, if you can compare other countries in South America? Hey Alex, I have one more deep question. Why are people racist towards each other, to hate each other through the perspective of 5 elements, or my perspective? Yeah, I agree with that, but not sure 5 elements can answer that. Just some people they don't admit other race, and that is not about the 5 element, but at least we can figure out the people who have more metal element, those people can be more black and white thinking, like here and there, and there's no middle. Like earth people is mixed all together. But I will just simply saying, yeah, metal dominant energy. It is not the truth, but in general, black and white. Wood fire dominant energy, people could be more open, sort things. And also when we talk about if the chart is more dry means rabbit. This could be dry. This could be dry. I would say those 6 characters are more dry character in earthly branches. And those 6 characters are more kind of moist. And dry element is not really mixed together. There's separation. Like the skin problem, like skins are cracked, more about the separation process. And if the moist character is more, it's more about mixed together. No boundary, kind of no boundary. It could be also maybe the part of racism, if somebody who has more this character, but it's not always true. Even though dry people can mix with the people with power, moist could be, yeah, it is not talking about the racism, I think, yeah, far from racism. But this could be one factor. So when in Chinese metaphysics, it is said south, we southerns have to set it as south also. Yeah, Alex, it depends on each individual chart. That's correct. Yes, south, and I don't think south is southern hemisphere. Kind of, yeah, that's why the southern hemisphere is really interesting to study, because this study what has been focused on Northern Hemisphere mostly, and then not many studies has done about the Southern Hemisphere. But this is what I think. Near equator is closer to fire. Near the pole is closer to water. People in Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, and Paraguay, being these southern countries with majority white population in South America, it is said we are more European. But Uruguay, there is no racism at all. It's a very inclusive country. So white people tend to be considered as more metal water element, and black people is more considered as a fire. More, if there's more color, it is called as more fire aspect, more wood aspect, and if it is more white, it's called as more water and metal. So I think if your country has more white people there, maybe it is more closer to in aspect, metal water. Yeah, because of that, the African country is symbolically considered as the fire country, but all the countries near the equator here is for me it is more closer to fire. Like dividing water and fire is kind of more challenging. Like east and west is easier, but fire and water is we have to make a central country as Earth. How or where is the most dominant? If the character in the chart or in Ruth did? I don't really get your question, T. Can you clarify more? Just realize from your explanation that all 4 characters of my bata are moist elements. Does this explain the excessive damp in my body? Can be. And earth is the symbolical element for dampness. There is a dry earth and is considered as a damp earth. And the goat is kind of secondary. Goat is just in seasonal view. It is the damp month in Northern Hemisphere. So those 2 are considered as a damp. And also the moist element, their body cells tend to mingle more. Yeah, create more dampness. That's very interesting observation. What you are discussing today about hemisphere could be definitive to feng shui. Yeah, but of course. Now I'm not sure where's my Chinese stuff. So that's the also really still challenging for me, because if I look at the Southern Hemisphere people's chart, especially the monthly branch has a different meaning. The goat is July for the Northern Hemisphere. No, July for everyone, but it is summer for Northern, winter for Southern, right? So I have to consider the temperature is different. But my teacher always said using the temperature of the season is just one way to explain this character, one way to describe this character easily, more easier way. And actually it is not about the seasonal energy. Actually it is about the stars. So not the stars as the Western astrology, but kind of the constellations energy that the Earth is looking at. So it is kind of different from the temperature or the seasonal energy eventually. So we are talking about feng shui today? No, we are not talking about feng shui. I'm not a feng shui guy. I sometimes do the feng shui, but not really into it.